Your empathy is killing you. That was your first error. While everyone celebrates your ability to feel deeply, to understand others, to be the shoulder everyone cries on, you're slowly bleeding out emotionally. Every day, people drain you like a resource, take your emotional labor for granted, and disappear the moment you need support in return. You've been taught that sensitivity is a gift, that caring deeply makes you noble, that being emotionally available to everyone is somehow virtuous. But here's what they don't tell you. Unguarded empathy in a world full of emotional predators isn't a gift. It's a target painted on your back. The difference between you and someone like Machiavelli isn't that he lacked empathy. It's that he understood something you're just beginning to grasp. Empathy without strategy is weakness. Sensitivity without boundaries is downfall. Right now, you're operating from the emotional equivalent of walking through a battlefield with your armor off, wondering why you keep getting wounded. You give your heart freely to people who see it as ammunition to use against you later. You invest emotional energy in relationships that flow only one direction, toward everyone else. This stops today. The transformation from empath to dark empath isn't about becoming heartless. It's about becoming strategic. It's about taking your greatest strength, your ability to read and understand people, and weaponizing it for your own protection and advancement. Dark empaths don't turn off their feelings. They turn on their intelligence. They don't stop caring. They start choosing. They don't become cold. They become calculated. You've spent years being everyone else's emotional support system while your own needs went ignored. You've been the therapist, the mediator, the safe space for people who wouldn't cross the street to help you. You've confused being used with being useful, being needed with being valued. That version of you ends here. The person you're about to become understands that empathy is not a service you provide to undeserving people. It's a strategic advantage you deploy selectively. The weak empath feels everything and controls nothing. The dark empath feels everything and controls everything, starting with themselves. They've learned that the world respects strength, not sensitivity. They've discovered that people value what they can't easily access, not what they can freely exploit. Today, you begin the transformation from emotional doormat to emotional strategist, from someone who gets drained by others to someone who reads others like open books and uses that information to protect their own interests. Welcome to your evolution. Here's the brutal truth about your current situation. You're not helping people. You're enabling them. And in the process, you're destroying yourself. Every time you drop everything to solve someone else's crisis, you're teaching them that your time has no value. Every time you absorb their emotional chaos without reciprocation, you're training them to see you as a resource, not a person. Every time you make excuses for their bad behavior because you understand where it comes from, you're ensuring they'll repeat it. Your hyper-empathy has created a life where everyone else's feelings matter more than yours. You've become so good at reading other people's emotions that you've forgotten how to honor your own. You walk on eggshells around people who wouldn't think twice about stomping on yours. The pattern is always the same. Someone approaches you with a problem, not because they want your advice, but because they want your energy. They dump their emotional garbage on you, feel better, and disappear until they need another fix. Meanwhile, you're left processing their pain on top of your own. You call this being supportive. The reality is you've become an emotional drug dealer, providing people with the validation and attention they should be generating for themselves. And like any dealer, you're getting addicted to being needed, mistaking dependency for love. This dynamic attracts the worst kinds of people into your life. Narcissists who see your empathy as a weakness to exploit. Energy vampires who drain you dry and complain when you have nothing left to give. Manipulators who use your caring nature against you, weaponizing guilt and obligation to keep you in line. You've confused compassion with compliance, understanding with enabling. You think saying no makes you selfish, so you say yes until you're empty. You believe that setting boundaries makes you heartless, so you let people cross every line until you have no territory left to defend. The worst part, the people who benefit most from your endless empathy are often the same ones who criticize you for having needs of your own. They expect you to be their emotional support system while offering nothing in return. They want you to understand their struggles while dismissing yours as drama. This imbalance isn't accidental. It's systematic. And it will continue until you recognize a fundamental truth. People don't respect what they can get for free. They don't value what comes without effort. They don't appreciate what they can take without consequence. Your unlimited empathy has made you unlimited available to people who are limitedly committed to you. It's time to flip this equation. The first pillar of your transformation is learning emotional selectivity, the art of choosing who deserves your empathy and who doesn't. This isn't about becoming heartless, it's about becoming smart. Right now, you operate under the false belief that everyone deserves your emotional labor equally. This democratic approach to empathy is exactly what's destroying you. Not everyone in your life has earned the right to your emotional investment, and treating them as if they have is why you're constantly drained. Emotional selectivity begins with a simple realization. Your empathy is not a human right that others are entitled to. It's a valuable resource that should be distributed based on merit, reciprocity, and strategic value. When you start treating your emotional energy as currency, you naturally become more careful about where you spend it. Start by categorizing the people in your life into 3 groups. First, the inner circle, people who consistently add value to your life, respect your boundaries, and reciprocate your energy. These individuals have earned unlimited access to your empathy because they've proven themselves trustworthy stewards of it. Second, the middle circle, people who are generally neutral or occasionally beneficial, but haven't proven themselves worthy of deep emotional investment. They get polite, professional empathy. You're kind, you're helpful when convenient, but you don't sacrifice your own well-being for their problems. Third, the outer circle, energy drains, manipulators, and one-way relationships. These people get surface-level politeness and nothing more. No free therapy sessions, no emergency emotional support, no bending over backward to accommodate their drama. The key to implementing this system is understanding that empathy doesn't have to be all or nothing. You can care about someone's well-being without absorbing their emotional chaos. You can wish someone well without making their problems your responsibility. You can be kind without being available. Practice strategic emotional distance. When someone approaches you with a problem, ask yourself 3 questions before responding. Has this person been there for me when I needed them? Will helping them genuinely improve their situation or just enable more dysfunction? What will this cost me emotionally, and is it worth it? If the answers don't align with your values and well-being, politely redirect or decline. "I'm sorry you're going through that" doesn't require a follow-up of, "Let me fix it for you." That sounds difficult, doesn't obligate you to absorb their difficulty as your own. Learn to recognize the difference between people who are going through temporary hardship and people who create constant drama. The former deserve compassion and support. The latter deserve boundaries and distance. Chronic crisis creators are emotional addicts, and your empathy is their drug of choice. Start implementing the reciprocity test. For every emotional investment you make in someone, note whether they show up for you in return. Not immediately, people have their own lives, but over time. Healthy relationships have a natural give and take. Toxic relationships have endless taking and strategic giving. Stop making excuses for people who consistently fail this test. They're going through a hard time is not a permanent license to drain you. They don't know better stops being an excuse after you've taught them better and they continue the behavior. "They need me" is often code for "they're using me." Master the art of strategic unavailability. You don't need to be accessible to everyone all the time. Turn off read receipts. Don't answer every call immediately. Create barriers that require people to invest effort to reach you. This simple change will immediately filter out people who only contact you for convenience. When you practice emotional selectivity consistently, something remarkable happens. The people who are using you will either step up their reciprocity to maintain access, or they'll find easier targets elsewhere. Either outcome improves your life. The highest quality people in your life will respect your boundaries and appreciate that your emotional investment means something. They'll value your empathy more because they know it's not freely given to everyone. Your relationships will become deeper, more meaningful, and more balanced. As Machiavelli wrote, "Since love and fear can hardly exist together, if we must choose between them, it is far safer to be feared than loved." This doesn't mean being cruel. It means being respected. When people know your empathy is earned rather than assumed, they treat you with the respect you deserve. Emotional selectivity is your first line of defense against energy vampires and emotional manipulators. It's the foundation that everything else builds upon. Master this, and you'll immediately notice a dramatic improvement in your mental health, your relationships, and your overall quality of life. The second pillar is developing strategic emotional intelligence, using your ability to read people as a tactical advantage rather than a vulnerability. This means transforming your empathy from a passive experience into an active tool. Most empaths make the mistake of feeling everything they perceive in others. Someone is angry, so you become agitated. Someone is sad, so you become depressed. Someone is anxious, so you become worried. This emotional mirroring is what leaves you exhausted and overwhelmed. You're carrying everyone else's emotional baggage as if it were your own. Strategic emotional intelligence flips this dynamic. Instead of absorbing emotions, you observe them. Instead of reacting to what you feel from others, you analyze what those feelings reveal about their motivations, weaknesses, and intentions. You become an emotional detective rather than an emotional sponge. Start by creating what I call emotional distance. When you sense someone's emotional state, resist the urge to match it. Instead, mentally step back and ask, what is this emotion telling me about this person right now? Are they angry because they're not getting their way? Sad because they want sympathy? Anxious because they're hiding something? This shift in perspective is transformative. Suddenly, instead of being overwhelmed by other people's feelings, you're gathering intelligence about them. Their emotions become data points that help you understand their true motivations and predict their behavior. Learn to recognize emotional manipulation tactics. When someone uses guilt to control you, don't feel guilty. Recognize the manipulation attempt and respond accordingly. When someone plays victim to avoid accountability, don't rush to rescue them. See through the performance and maintain your boundaries. Practice the pause and analyze technique. When someone triggers an emotional response in you, pause before reacting. Take a mental step back and ask, why are they trying to make me feel this way? What do they gain if I respond emotionally? What would a strategic response look like instead of an emotional one? This doesn't mean suppressing your emotions. It means not letting other people's emotional strategies control your behavior. You can feel something without acting on it. You can recognize someone's attempt to manipulate you emotionally without falling for it. Develop your ability to read micro-expressions and body language while keeping your own reactions neutral. When you can see that someone is lying, frustrated, or planning something, but they don't know you can see it, you hold a significant advantage in every interaction. Use emotional intelligence to build stronger alliances with quality people. When you meet someone genuine, your enhanced ability to read them allows you to connect more deeply and authentically. When you encounter someone fake or manipulative, your skills help you maintain appropriate distance without being obvious about it. Master the art of emotional mirroring for strategic purposes. This doesn't mean absorbing their emotions. It means reflecting back the appropriate emotional energy to achieve your goals. If you need someone to calm down, you remain calm. If you need someone to take something seriously, you adopt a serious tone. You're not reacting to their emotions. You're using yours strategically. Learn to hide your true emotional reactions when necessary. This isn't about being fake. It's about controlling what information you give others about your internal state. People can't manipulate what they can't read. When someone can't tell if their emotional tactics are working on you, they lose their power. Start documenting patterns in people's behavior. Notice how they act when they want something versus when they're content. Observe how they treat you when they need you versus when they don't. Track how they respond to boundaries, criticism, or not getting their way. This data helps you predict their future behavior and respond appropriately. Understand that many people are emotionally immature and will use whatever tactics work to get what they want. They're not evil. They're just operating from a limited toolkit. When you recognize this, their behavior becomes predictable rather than personal. Develop your emotional poker face. Practice maintaining a calm, neutral expression while internally processing what you're observing. This prevents people from getting emotional reactions from you, which often frustrates manipulators and causes them to reveal more about their true intentions. Use strategic questioning to gather information while appearing helpful. Help me understand why this is so important to you, or what would you like to see happen here? Often reveals more about someone's true motivations than direct confrontation would. The goal isn't to become a cold, calculating person. It's to become someone who can navigate emotional situations with intelligence and intention rather than just reaction and instinct. You're taking your natural empathic abilities and adding a layer of strategic thinking that protects you while maximizing your effectiveness. As Machiavelli observed, everyone sees what you appear to be. Few experience what you really are. Strategic emotional intelligence allows you to control what others see while gathering maximum information about what they really are. This skill becomes your shield against manipulation and your sword for cutting through deception to reach truth. The third pillar transforms you from someone who reacts to people into someone who predicts them. This is where your empathic abilities become a genuine superpower. The ability to read patterns in human behavior so accurately that you can anticipate people's actions before they take them. Most people are far more predictable than they realize. They operate from the same emotional triggers, use the same manipulation tactics, and follow the same behavioral patterns repeatedly. Once you learn to identify these patterns, you gain an almost supernatural ability to stay ahead of their moves. Start by observing consistency versus inconsistency in people's behavior. Pay attention to the gap between what someone says and what they do, between how they present themselves and how they actually behave when they think no one important is watching. These gaps reveal their true character. Notice how people treat those who can't benefit them. Service workers, people they consider beneath them, or individuals they have nothing to gain from. This reveals more about someone's character than how they treat you when they need something from you. Document behavioral patterns across different situations. How does this person react when they're stressed? When they don't get their way? When they're caught in a lie? When they want something from you? When they're trying to avoid responsibility? These patterns become your roadmap for predicting their future behavior. Learn to recognize tells, unconscious behaviors that reveal someone's true emotional state or intentions. Some people touch their face when lying. Others change their vocal pace when they're nervous. Many use specific phrases or behaviors when they're preparing to ask for something or deliver bad news. Master the art of reading room dynamics. When you enter a group situation, quickly identify the power structures, alliances, and tensions. Who defers to whom? Who's trying to impress whom? Where are the fault lines that might crack under pressure? This information helps you navigate complex social situations strategically. Develop your ability to spot emotional manipulation before it fully deploys. Most manipulative people have a standard playbook. They test boundaries, escalate gradually, use guilt or fear as leverage, and create artificial urgency to prevent you from thinking clearly. When you recognize these patterns early, you can address them before they gain momentum. Practice predictive listening, hearing not just what someone is saying, but anticipating where the conversation is heading. Are they building up to asking for something? Setting up excuses for future behavior? Testing how you'll react to certain ideas? This foresight allows you to steer conversations in directions that serve your interests. Learn to identify people's core emotional drivers. Is this person motivated primarily by fear, greed, vanity, insecurity, or genuine care for others? Once you understand what drives someone, you can predict how they'll respond to different situations and what approaches will be most effective with them. Recognize the difference between temporary stress responses and permanent character traits. Someone having a bad day might behave uncharacteristically, but someone who consistently shows the same problematic behaviors is revealing who they really are. Don't make excuses for patterns, acknowledge them. Master the skill of reading energy shifts in conversations. When does someone become more engaged or withdrawn? What topics make them defensive or excited? Where do they show genuine emotion versus performed emotion? These shifts tell you what really matters to them. Develop situational awareness that extends beyond immediate interactions. Consider the broader context of why someone is behaving a certain way right now. Are they under pressure from something else in their life? Do they have ulterior motives? Are they testing you for some reason? Practice scenario planning based on your observations. If this person behaves true to their patterns, what are they likely to do next? How can you position yourself advantageously for multiple possible outcomes? This strategic thinking prevents you from being caught off guard. Use pattern recognition to identify when someone is about to escalate, withdraw, or attempt manipulation. This early warning system allows you to adjust your approach before situations become problematic. You might choose to disengage, set firmer boundaries, or redirect the interaction entirely. Learn to distinguish between people who are temporarily overwhelmed versus those who are chronically dysfunctional. The former deserve patience and support. The latter require boundaries and limited engagement. Your empathy should be calibrated to this difference. Master the art of reading what people don't say, the topics they avoid, the questions they deflect, the emotions they won't acknowledge. These silences often contain more information than their words. What someone refuses to discuss often reveals their deepest vulnerabilities or hidden agendas. Pay attention to how people's behavior changes based on their audience. Someone who is kind when alone with you but dismissive when others are around is showing you their authentic priorities. Someone who treats you differently based on your perceived status or usefulness is revealing their transactional nature. The goal is not to become paranoid or cynical, but to become accurate. When you can read people clearly and predict their behavior reliably, you can engage with them appropriately. You give trust where it's deserved, maintain distance where it's needed, and position yourself advantageously in every interaction. As Machiavelli noted, the first method for estimating the intelligence of a ruler is to look at the men he has around him. Your pattern recognition skills help you choose wisely who deserves a place in your inner circle. The fourth and final pillar is becoming a master of emotional leverage, the ability to influence outcomes by understanding and strategically responding to the emotional dynamics in any situation. This is where your transformation from victim to victor becomes complete. Emotional leverage isn't manipulation in the destructive sense. It's understanding that all human interactions involve emotional elements, and those who understand these elements best are those who achieve the best outcomes for themselves and the people they care about. It's the difference between being tossed around by emotional currents and learning to navigate them skillfully. The foundation of emotional leverage is emotional independence. When your sense of worth, happiness, and security isn't dependent on other people's approval or behavior, you gain tremendous power in every interaction. People can no longer control you through guilt, fear, or the threat of withdrawal because you're genuinely okay either way. This independence paradoxically makes you more attractive to high-quality people and less appealing to emotional predators. Quality individuals respect self-sufficiency and are drawn to people who have their own emotional center. Predators move on to easier targets because you're no longer providing the emotional reaction they feed on. Master the strategic use of emotional contrast. When everyone else is reactive, your calmness becomes powerful. When others are scattered, your focus stands out. When people are being emotional, your rational approach gains authority. You become the steady point in chaos, and people naturally look to you for guidance. Learn to use strategic vulnerability. This isn't the same as oversharing or emotional neediness. It's the calculated sharing of authentic emotion at moments when it will build genuine connection or achieve important goals. When someone who is usually composed shows genuine feeling, it carries enormous weight. Develop the ability to emotionally disarm hostility without surrendering your position. This involves acknowledging someone's emotional state without necessarily agreeing with their perspective. I can see this is really important to you. Validates their feeling without conceding their point. This often diffuses anger and opens space for productive dialogue. Master the art of strategic scarcity with your emotional availability. When your time, attention, and empathy become limited resources that people have to earn, they become more valuable. People who took your emotional labor for granted will either step up their game or remove themselves from your life. Both outcomes benefit you. Learn to read and respond to power dynamics in real time. In every interaction, there are elements of status, influence, and control at play. Understanding these dynamics allows you to position yourself advantageously without being obvious about it. Sometimes you lead, sometimes you follow, but you always choose based on strategic considerations. Develop your ability to inspire loyalty without dependency. The most powerful form of influence is when people want to support you because they genuinely respect and admire you, not because they need something from you or fear losing your approval. This requires becoming someone worthy of that respect through your actions and character. Practice strategic emotional investment. Instead of giving your emotional energy to whoever demands it loudest, invest it where it will generate the best returns. Support people who support you. Invest in relationships that grow stronger over time. Build alliances with people who share your values and complement your strengths. Master the supreme test of emotional leverage, the ability to walk away from any situation that doesn't serve your highest good. This isn't about being cold or uncaring. It's about valuing yourself enough to refuse to participate in dynamics that diminish you. When people know you can't be held hostage emotionally, they treat you with genuine respect. This walking away power transforms every relationship in your life. Friends who were taking you for granted suddenly become more appreciative. Family members who were boundary crossing start respecting your limits. Professional relationships become more balanced and productive. Romantic connections become more authentic and passionate. The true mark of mastery is when you can influence positive outcomes while maintaining your integrity and authenticity. You're not manipulating people. You're creating conditions where everyone's best interests align. You're not forcing outcomes. You're making the right choices so attractive that people naturally choose to support them. Learn to recognize when someone is testing your boundaries or your resolve. These tests are opportunities to demonstrate your emotional strength and reinforce your standards. How you respond to boundary tests determines whether people will respect your limits or continue pushing them. Develop the ability to remain strategically unpredictable. While your values and standards should be consistent, your specific responses should vary based on what the situation requires. Sometimes firmness is needed, sometimes flexibility, sometimes directness, sometimes subtlety. This unpredictability prevents people from taking you for granted. The ultimate expression of emotional leverage is creating win-win situations where your success enables others' success. When people genuinely benefit from supporting you, when your victories create opportunities for them, you build sustainable influence that grows stronger over time. At this level, you're no longer just protecting yourself from emotional predators. You're actively creating environments where positive, productive, authentic people want to be around you. You become a magnet for quality relationships and opportunities, while naturally repelling dysfunction and drama. This is the transformation from dark empath to emotional sovereign. You still feel deeply, care genuinely, and connect authentically. But you do it all from a position of strength, wisdom, and strategic awareness. You've learned to wield your greatest sensitivity as your greatest strength. As Machiavelli understood, true power comes not from dominating others, but from mastering yourself. When you control your own emotional responses, set and maintain clear boundaries, and engage with others strategically rather than reactively, you become truly unstoppable. The journey from vulnerable empath to strategic dark empath represents one of the most profound transformations possible. You've learned that your sensitivity isn't a weakness to overcome, it's a strength to weaponize intelligently. Machiavelli wrote, "Whosoever desires constant success must change his conduct with the times." You've done exactly that. You've adapted your approach to match the reality of human nature instead of the fantasy of how people should behave. You've evolved from someone who gets drained by others to someone who reads, influences, and controls the emotional dynamics around you. The 4 pillars you've mastered, emotional selectivity, strategic emotional intelligence, pattern recognition, and emotional leverage, have transformed you into someone who commands respect rather than demands it. People can no longer take your emotional labor for granted because you've made it a privilege to earn, not a right to assume. Your empathy is now protected by boundaries, guided by intelligence, and deployed strategically. You've learned to care deeply while thinking clearly, to feel genuinely while responding strategically. This combination makes you both authentic and formidable. The old version of you was governed by everyone else's emotions. The new version governs their own emotions and influences others through conscious choice rather than unconscious reaction. You've stopped being a victim of your own sensitivity and started being the master of it. But remember, this transformation requires constant vigilance. Old patterns will try to reassert themselves. People who benefited from the old you will test your new boundaries. Situations will arise that challenge your resolve. Each time you have a choice, revert to old habits or reinforce your evolution. The world needs people who can feel deeply and think strategically. It needs individuals who combine empathy with intelligence, compassion with strength, understanding with boundaries. You've become someone who can navigate emotional complexity without losing yourself in it. Your journey from emotional doormat to emotional strategist is complete, but your application of these principles is just beginning. Every interaction is an opportunity to practice these skills. Every relationship a chance to demonstrate your transformation. Every challenge a moment to prove your growth. The transformation begins now. Continue connected with this channel to master the advanced strategies of emotional influence and personal power. Your evolution from empath to dark empath is just the foundation. There are deeper levels of strategic mastery waiting for you to discover. Welcome to your new reality. Use it wisely,